America's smartest money show. Investing, taxes, legal topics, insurance, and every other confusing money topic made simple.
Well, happy Saturday to you. This is The Real Money Pros. The Money Pros? What? The unreal ones? Real ones? No, we're the real ones.
We're real.
Absolutely stinking real, and I can actually prove it. Those of you who catch our program on a regular basis may or may not know that I do a lot of things with my hands, like woodworking and like trying to learn how to weld, even paint, all that. I don't not paint, like homes, walls, no. Canvases, stuff like that, yes. I do a lot of things on my own, but they come with a lot of mistakes. And I get a little bit concerned because I have been thinking about the parallels right now with people, let's say, managing their largest investment asset, their 401k. And the minutia in my wood shop actually really came to show its ugly face here this last week, whereas same thing can happen inside of your 401k. And so I want to talk about that. But this is a live program here, financial talk, you got it. But let's talk about you. We're both financial planners, advisors, fiduciaries only. Jeremiah Bates is here and Brian Wiley. You can look us up online. Go to therealmoneypros.com. But the best part is this program is live right now on Saturday. 979-59-MONEY is the phone line. That's 979-596-6639. We can kick around lots of different topics. I want to talk about home ownership. Is it still the same thing it used to be as far as the value in our values? Well, we'd like to hear from you, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Jeremiah Bates, I'm sure we're going to talk about market issues, but I also want to talk about making sure you get it right. This is one of the biggest problems inside of people's financial lives is that you're taking risk and you've got some pretty big outcomes that you're trying to get out of this. So the reward you want is going to require some risk, but you better have a good plan to get there. And when you miss it, you can actually miss it by a little or a lot, but missing it is missing it. Now, what I'm talking about is when I was building my cabinets, I did a whole bunch of test cabinets first through my machine, and I was building different building methods of cabinets because I'm building a home's worth of cabinets, which is a pretty big process, honestly. It's about 100 sheets of plywood, so imagine that, right? And you go through each one of those things, and each one ends up being something, and that's how much it's going to take to do this whole home. So I didn't want to make giant mistakes and have it go through the whole run. Well, I had practiced for a while, used a machine, got everything just great. I was using MDF as my practice material because it's a little less expensive and it was working with my machines. But my plan was to use a plywood, like a birch plywood or a maple plywood. So I selected the maple plywood. I have that. It's 3/4 inch, but it's not.
Oh no. I've read takes and posts about this, how they'll get a 2x4 and it's not quite a 2x4 or the measurements are a little off, which throws it off.
Yeah, those are 3.5. They're far off from 2x4. But so the wet cut size, the dimensions of the wet wood, it may be as much as 2x4 inches, right? And then it'll shrink, and then they process it, and they'll sand it and edge it and all these other things, and that's how you come up with your 3.5 by whatever, 2 3/4. No, what is it? 1.75, I think, by 3.5, something like that for a 2x4. Well, my 3/4 inch plywood came out to 0.71. Well, that little 0.04, the difference in that gap. So we're talking about 3/4 inch, but really is closer to probably, it's a lot less than that, like 11/16 probably.
Okay, yeah.
And when I put the cabinets together, this is after I cut all the wood, everything fit together, everything seemed to fit. But when we finally went to go do the glue and clamping, there is just this little sliver of a gap down all the cabinets, but it's all on the insides. Now, in less than a week, I was able to cut and create like 16 base cabinets for the kitchen. I went up there and got them all installed, the whole bit. Everything fits dimensionally, but that little tiny gap is just driving me insane. All of those have drawers, so you'll never see it. Nobody else will see it, but I see it. That little miss. So you think about this inside your 401k. You're dealing with what starts with no money, gets up to $500,000. You're getting real critical mass going here. And when we talk on this program, we talk as fiduciaries. So we're talking about lowering your expenses, having the right investments, the right plan, the right allocation, the right purpose, and also matching that to your ability to actually accomplish these things. But when we reduce expenses, when we talk about like a 1% annualized fee inside of a mutual fund, comparing that to, let's say, an ETF at 0.05, these make giant differences in the end product to the point where your measurements will be completely off. So that'd be like me completing the entire house, keeping that gap. Now I fixed it, and now the cabinets that I have are coming in so tight fit that I probably didn't even need to glue them. Wow. They're that tight. What a disaster. I looked at this going, did I just waste 30 sheets of plywood at $80 a sheet? Like, whoa, yeah, this is a big one, right? But no, I didn't. I'm going to keep them. And sometimes a little lipstick on a pig, right?
Well, when you talk about 401ks, there's just there's different ways to look at it, right? Like we had a caller last week where they just got a new job. They're like, how do I set this thing up? And I wasn't too dissimilar when I got hired on by a company. And it was the first time they offered any type of benefit, and they gave me time to do all the onboarding stuff. And I'm like, 401k, like what? I didn't even know what it was, and just had no guidance to just kind of haphazardly put it together. And it was kind of similar to a caller that we had last week. It's like, hey, I just got hired by a new employer. They offer this 401k. Like, what should I do? And that's going to be a different point in time than someone who's maybe 10, 20 years in. They're maybe 10 years out from retirement. And now we're talking about the efficiencies of the investments inside. And then you arrive to the point where now you're actually going to start drawing off of this money. There's interesting dynamics with that. And not even if it's just a 401k on its own, I would attribute this to employer plans across the board. I had a client reach out to me and said, hey, he's a pilot, and he says, hey, my company is now offering a non-qualified deferred compensation plan. What is that, right? And so there's so many different layers to this. And I would, when you talk about the cabinets just being slightly off could completely change the look and the design, meaning you could start from scratch. Golf, very similar, where you could have the perfect swing and you're off by like just a hair, a gnat's butt, and that ball, instead of going straight down the fairway, you're in the trees. And I'm a weekend hacker. I'm not a big golfer. I love it. But what keeps me coming back is for maybe out of every 10 swings, I'll just have one good swing and it goes exactly where you want. But there's so many different points of contact. Do you change the grip? Do you change your feet? And of course, you go golfing with your buddies and everyone's a coach at that point. And like, no, picture you're holding a plate on your hand when you bring your club back. And it's just all these things just surround. It's like, okay, what is the single move that's going to have the biggest effect? And we're talking about 401ks and the fees. It's this concept of compounding growth that I think a lot of people are familiar with. And generally the reason why you invest is because you get that annualized compound growth over time. So think of that exact same process, but working against you when we're talking about fees. Because if you look at an investment inside of a 401k and you're looking at a 1% annual fee for just the mutual fund, the fund that you're in, and keep in mind that fee that you're paying, it's not like you're getting any advice. It's not like you can reach out to the fund manager and say, hey, like, what are your thoughts on this? No, that is just a fee that's coming out of the end. Different when we talk about fees when it comes to mutual funds, one thing I want to point out, it's not a fee that you're ever going to see. Like, you're not going to see a line item on your statement that you now see the fee from this mutual fund coming out, because I think that would probably change a lot of people's outlook on it. Yeah. Like, oh, I see it. What happens is that fee is internal, and everyone that's invested in that fund recognizes that fee at the end of whatever day they pull it out. Some funds do it. They have a set schedule when they assess that fee. So you see that on the displayed value of that fund at the end of that trading day when they actually debit the fee. So it's a little bit different when most people think like, oh, fees, where is it? Well, we actually have to arrive. We just got to do a little calculation, see how much you're actually exposed to it and what that fee actually means to you. But I was doing this for a couple clients over the past probably a couple months or so. And these are high income earners, young in their whole financial journey, relatively speaking. And they're doing the right things. They're net saving. They're dumping money in their 401k. They're taking advantage of the match. And they're in funds that are growing, but there's other options inside of their 401k where I'm like, well, you could go this route where your performance is actually better in this index fund versus this managed fund. The fee is about 0.10% versus the 0.80% that you're paying. So it's like that little tweak could have huge compounding effects, especially for those younger investors as they're in their accumulation phase.
So for those of you that have a 401k, or you have some sort of a workplace deferred retirement plan, a 403b, 457, or you're just managing a large investment asset, what are you doing to get help? Who's double checking you to make sure you're doing the work, to make sure you're doing the allocation changes? Or do you have just nobody? And have you selected some stock some mutual fund inside your 401k that just does it on its own. There's a lot of inefficiencies with that. We want to hear more about it from you. 979-59-MONEY. Have you made changes? Have you hired somebody? What's it worth to you? How much would you pay a great financial advisor to handle the 401k for you on your behalf? 979-59-MONEY. We've got answers to that and much more. It's the Real Money Pros. Make this year that you work smarter, not harder with Ataraxis. As your strategic partner, Ataraxis becomes an extension of your business, taking the burden of HR, payroll, benefits, workers' compensation, compliance, and staffing off your plate. You'll have more time to focus on operating and growing your business. Let Ataraxis handle the details so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at ataraxis.com. That's ATARAXIS.com.
As we age, managing our finances can become increasingly complex with ever-changing tax laws, estate planning, insurance needs, and investment environments. At Apollon Wealth Management, their goal is simple: to help enrich your life with personalized, expert financial advice. With a nationwide network of advisors, they're committed to delivering the best solutions for your financial future. It's time to take control and get the guidance you deserve. Connect with an advisor today by visiting The Real Money Pros. That's therealmoneypros.com.
Looking to make your dream of home ownership a reality? Look no further than Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender. Academy strives to offer the best rates and terms tailored to your financial situation. At Academy Mortgage, you'll be treated like family, not just another file. Navigating today's ever-changing housing market can be challenging, but their team is here to help. Experience the zero-down options, including loans with no mortgage insurance. They also provide specialized medical professional loans and unique 2-to-1 rate buydowns that reduce your monthly payment for the first initial years of your loan. And forget about dealing with brokers and middlemen. With Academy Mortgage, everything happens in-house, from origination to funding. Say goodbye to hassles and surprises. Begin your home ownership journey today by visiting them online at academymortgage.com. That's academymortgage.com.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
This open enrollment, start making meaningful progress towards your long-term financial goals. Did you know that a health savings account, or HSA, is the most tax-advantaged account in the U.S.? Contributions are tax-deductible, which reduces your total taxable income. Withdrawals for eligible health expenses are also tax-free. And last, capital gains on investments are also tax-free. Did we also mention that it's free for individuals? Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/pro.
And now, back to the Real Money Pros.
Well, this is the Real Money Pros. You can go to therealmoneypros.com. We'd love it if you followed us on social media, if you watch us on YouTube. We actually do video all of our shows, and you get to see us. We wear hats and T-shirts just like everybody else does on weekends, but we work during the weeks as fiduciary financial advisors, a part of Apollon Wealth Management. Now, if you go to our website at therealmoneypros.com, you'll notice that this program is supported by sponsors. In fact, we're not trying to sell you things, not even our own services that we perform during the week, but rather we're trying to give you a great program where you can become better with your own money. Well, the Apollon Wealth Management Network of Advisors also means we can connect you to a fantastic advisor. Just go to therealmoneypros.com, connect with us. We'll connect you to them. We'll actually make sure that we fit you with the right one if it's not one amongst our team. Again, go to therealmoneypros.com. This is a live program, 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. So I have this question about homeownership. Do you feel the same way about it now that you did, let's say, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, or do you think it's changed? Has the reason to own a home change, or do people now move around so much? Do you think that renting, leasing is a better option for some? Because when you put if you put the pencil down to the paper it's not always the wisest financial choice when you stretch that out over their lifetime. If you look at the costs that they put for upkeep and how much was buried into it, and renovations, and personalizing things. So when you rent, you tend to not want to paint the walls. So you don't spend money on home improvement, which I got to say, I spend a lot of money. My personal income is done on home improvement or repairs, mostly because it's something I enjoy doing it. So it's either I'm going to spend the money on something really dumb or something that'll stick around for a while.
No, I think that I do when it comes to this, like my generation, right? So millennial, I think I'm like square. I'm not too far on the high end, not too far on the low end, probably square in the middle. Obviously, when we're looking at the macro numbers of the trend of renting versus buying, yeah, I think a lot of this has to do with that. When you look at median incomes compared to house prices and the amount of money you need to come up with a down payment, it's tough. And then you look at the interest rates too. I mean, you can see a lot of markets where just from renting to purchasing, your mortgage, meaning your cost towards housing would probably double, if not more, if you made that pivot from renting to purchasing. So obviously the financial side of it's there. And I think a lot of the younger generation, maybe they're not putting as much emphasis on that American dream, that home ownership, because I think there's a little bit more propensity towards experiences, right? Like they don't, and being more flexible, like they,
traveling.
Well, yeah, travel, and not to mention if you can work remotely, which is still, it's still there. The work remote thing is not dead by any means. People can be more flexible, meaning you're not beholden to one location, one spot. But, when it comes to purchasing a house, you look at it through two different lenses, right? Are you looking at this from a quality of life standpoint where I want to have a place that I know we're going to live into for a very long time. My kids are in a good school district. It's close proximity to work. Like, it's a great place to raise my kids, good neighborhood, safe, all of that. Like that is not necessarily taken in the equation from an investment standpoint. And then even when you look at it from an investment standpoint, what are you comparing the investment to? If you look at if you just do a wide scope or wide range of, let's say, single family residents across America and compare that investment performance, meaning the growth of that asset, to, let's say, the S&P 500 or, whatever measuring stick you want to do for broad U.S. market investing, the stock ownership is going to beat that, right? So I don't necessarily think that you can look at, renting versus purchasing is on its own, because there's so much other emotional things that come into the equation, like the utility of what is actually happening. But all in all, I know long-winded way to say that when it comes to this generation, I don't think they're putting near as much emphasis on home ownership, because they just don't see, the big benefit.
And look at the jobs too, because a lot of the jobs are now done remote. So living in the middle of a city so you can get to work, and that obviously costing a lot of people a lot more money than if living in the suburbs and being able to perform the same work, then a lot of people are going to do that. I think you kind of brought up the point where home ownership is probably the stronger case, which is the stability for a family, growing family, especially right. School-age kids, and just having that safety and security. But the travel, the experience portion of it is also great. I had a friend who probably 10 years ago, they sold their house, and it was a sizable house. They bought a really big, dumb RV, and it's just giant. And he's pulling around another big pickup truck behind that, but they took off for a year. And they had 3 kids. They were living in there. They just went from campsite to campsite, but they were all into the experiences. Remember at one point, they had found some great place to park down in Key West, and they had the ocean on both sides of their RV. And it's just, I got a little bit jealous, I have to admit. Like, could you homeschool your kids? Could you do it that way? What are your thoughts about home ownership? 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. Because I know a lot of people will still say, well, you got to own your home and pay it off, and I don't want to be dependent upon somebody else or having to get the income. You got to pay property taxes. You're probably paying your insurance on it. You're paying something. All right. So, but what are your opinions? Phone lines are open. Again, 979-59-MONEY, calling out of Idaho. We've got Doug on the line. Hi, Doug. Thanks for calling the Real Money Pros. Hello,
Hi.
Doug.
Hello. So my question is, I own a fourplex. I bought it back in 2019 here in Boise, Idaho, where the crazy growth happened. I now have about $300,000 to $400,000 of equity in it.
Nice.
What I need help with is what should I do to get the next piece of property? I wanted to get your thoughts on refinancing out of my VA loan, which is at like 3.25 or something crazy low right now.
Yep.
So does it seem like that's the best thing to do with the way rates are? Or the other option is like take a HELOC, a line of credit on it, and use that to finance something into the next one. But the costs are vastly different on both, but I'd just like your takes to see if you can help me figure out what to do next.
So, Doug, are you living in the fourplex? And you have 3 rented? Is that the way it's working?
I was. I just came back from Oklahoma. I was gone for 2 years for the Army. But it's fully rented right now. I don't live in it.
Okay. Well, thanks for your service to our country, by the way, and we really appreciate that. That's fantastic. 979, excuse me, why am I throwing up the number? Because the reason why I'm bringing up fourplex is because that's when you start getting into commercial loans. And now it becomes an actual commercial property. If you were to go to a bank and you ask for it as an investment property loan, it's going to change some of the parameters in there. But if you lived in the property, then you still can have that link to it being your personal property. You mentioned the VA. The VA was probably a loan when you were living in the property, right? Because they're not going to help you out when it comes to an investment property. So were you a resident in it then? Were you living in it when you first bought it?
Correct. I had to live in it.
That's it.
Yes, I had to live in it for a minimum of 2 years.
Well, bottom line is I would do everything you can to try to avoid refinancing that really low-rated loan. Now, you've got equity, so you could go get a HELOC against that equity, but you better find a really good piece of property to buy with that equity because you don't want to get yourself upside down on this one. We've got a lot more to talk about on this topic, Doug's topic. What about your topics? 979-59-MONEY is the phone line. Doug, you can stay on the line with us if you'd like during the break. We'll come back. We can ask you more questions. But I certainly have some comments about how you can lever up into new properties and maybe start to build yourself a little rental empire. We'll be right back.
Apollon Wealth Management has transformed the way our team delivers financial advice. With their support, we're more equipped and more empowered than ever to provide top-tier financial planning, investment management, and personalized financial guidance. Apollon has been a key partner in helping us achieve our clients' unique financial goals. Whether you're an advisor looking to enhance your client experience or an investor ready to take your wealth management to the next level, reach out today to the Real Money Pros by visiting therealmoneypros.com. Let's elevate your financial future today.
I'm Nick Daniels with Tree City Advisors of Apollon. My team and I help our clients implement tax-smart strategies because taxes are one of the largest headwinds your investments face. We use strategies like Roth conversions, 1031 exchanges, and more because a good advisor should help you with more than just investment selection. Visit us today at treecityadvisors.com or call us at 208-888-1244.
Advisory services offered through Apollon Wealth Management, LLC, DBA Tree City Advisors of Apollon, an investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and then use tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively, our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
Begin your home ownership journey today. Look no further than Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender. And forget about dealing with brokers and middlemen. With Academy Mortgage, everything happens in-house, from origination to funding. Say goodbye to hassles and surprises. Their team of seasoned professionals will be with you every step of the way. That's academymortgage.com. Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Imagine financial advice without a sales pitch to buy something, and imagine a long-term financial plan focused on your goals, not somebody else's, and the day that you can leave your broker because you know how to do things on your own. At Tree City Advisors, we do things a bit differently than our peers. First, we help you define your purpose for investing. We help you clean up messes or complicated financial issues from your past. We help you organize all your financial pieces into something manageable. We're a fiduciary-only firm, and we design simple strategies. And we teach you how it all works without clutter, confusion, or high cost. We can either do your investments for you, or we can teach you how to do them on your own. In the end, we empower you with knowledge, lower fees, and confidence. Welcome to Tree City Advisors. This is the way we think if financial advisors should work for their clients. At Tree City Advisors, we provide flat fee planning and training. We also offer full service asset management, and we employ do-it-yourself technologies. There's never a fee for an initial meeting or review, so let's get started. Learn more at treecityadvisors.com. Tree City Advisors is an SEC registered investment advisor.
You're listening to The Real Money Pros.
Well, we hope you're listening to it anyway. It's the Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. That's how you find us. 979-59-MONEY is the phone line. We call that Formatics. I've been broadcasting for 25 years, and sometimes you have to pause to think. And Doug had said something, and then I paused, and I go into Formatics, and my mouth just starts says that stuff while I'm trying to think of a good answer for Doug. That's we're still laughing about that over the break. So, Doug, you're still on the line with us now, right?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, okay, I'm still here.
You didn't mention that you wanted to sell the fourplex for any reason, right? You just are wondering how you can get some of the equity out of it and then go lever up on another piece of property for more income?
Well, yeah, and kind of it really is more of a retirement strategy of sorts.
Okay.
So the fourplex now, it's fully rented out and it fully funds itself. I make a little bit on it, but not a whole lot as far as income off of it.
Okay.
But I bought it right at 500, and I can sell it for, here in Boise anyway, I can sell it for right around 9. But that's not the point. At some point when I'm old and retired, that's a chunk of change to put into some sort of retirement. But I'm really trying to find another one or two of these.
Basic question for you though, Doug. Why is it not cash flowing more? I've left the rents where it is. It's not new.
Okay. And I have bumped up the rents that I collect on it are probably a little bit lower than they could be, but with the growth in the valley, it's been more beneficial for me to just keep them as is so I can keep the renters in there, because there's so many big apartments that are opening up that it's hard to find renters that are good anymore.
Okay, because what I'm asking you...
That's the gamble and why I haven't done it.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking you this is if you've listened to us long enough, you've heard us talk about buckets. And we talk about income buckets and growth buckets and a stable value bucket. And what you're telling me is that you're trying to generate retirement income, but you're treating the property more like it's a growth investment, meaning you're looking at the entry price and the exit price and then not really comparing that to the income that you get. But you could change the income inside of it. even when we run a business like a self-employment situation, eventually you want to sell your business. While you're running the business and living off of it, you're generating the income, maximizing that, lowering your taxes. But then eventually you have to change how you do your bookkeeping and make it look attractive to a buyer, and it looks like a growth investment, the whole bit. With your rental property, I would actually take a step back, look at that fourplex really closely, because if you were to sell it, all of your renters are going to be forced to pay much higher rental prices to whoever it is that bought the property. So it's either they're going to do it to them or you're going to do that to them. And at least right now you've got the control. But I would definitely try to change your cash flow on that piece of property first. That cash flow then would actually translate to a higher sale price anyhow. And it also will increase your equity in front of a bank because they're going to look at it from a cash flow standpoint. So there's a lot of reasons that you kind of need to go up and move the rents with the market. Does that make sense to you, Doug? Before we get on to anything new.
Yeah, it does. And it's always been that juggle in my head as far as, when to do it, when not to do it.
This is the reason why people hire property managers.
My primary residence, and
Yep. I would hire a property manager. I'm that guy that would,
It's like bleeding heart. I have so many clients where it's not in their nature. They fall, whether you want to call it falling victim to the sweet old lady who they want to help out. So the altruism through that, I can certainly appreciate. Doug, in your case, have you identified another potential fourplex or another investment property that you have your eye on? Or is this kind of, hey, I obviously have significant equity gains in this property. I want to tap into that equity to be able to make a move when I'm ready. Which scenario are you in? Like, have you identified a property that you feel is a good opportunity, will cash flow, and has some good potential for growth?
Sort of. Since I bought it, I get the realtor that helped me buy it. I get updates on any time fourplexes come on the market through her company, and I've been getting those for ever since I bought it. So I see them. And there's been a few that have come along that are newer, like brand new builds and stuff like that I think would still cash flow and not have to have, I guess, my outlay. Because that's the hard part, is how do I do it so that it's not coming out of my pocket more than it would be like rent.
Right. What are the price ranges for these ones that you're seeing being listed? I mean, are you talking 600, 500, 800 and above?
They're $8. The cheapest I've seen has been about $850. And that's like bare bottom, because here in the valley, I mean, prices are through the roof on everything. So it just stands to reason. So now it's like, okay, how do I come up with that chunk of change on a commercial loan if I don't use my VA loan to step into that next one that's going to be $800,000 or $900,000?
Well, yeah, in the commercial loan, they're going to
Yeah.
limit how much they're going to loan you based on either 70-30 or 60-40, where you're going to be coming up with 40% of it. Do you have a sizable deferred, like a retirement plan, 401k, something like that, or even an IRA?
I have a few 401ks actually that I need to roll together.
Okay.
But
is there enough inside those 401ks that you could consider the loan provision of a maximum of $50,000 from the 401k? Because this is one place where you can get money, pay yourself back at a decent interest rate, but then you'd be able to expense it if it was linked to your investment property, which is a business. Then you'd be able to expense the interest on it. That makes sense? So lots of ideas here. We may have lost him, but we'll certainly get him back in there as soon as we can. So
no, I think, Doug, certainly appreciate the call. I think
there's a lot of ideas.
There's a lot of ideas, but it's tough too, because let's just look at this on its island of its own, where $400,000 of equity. Let's imagine he gets a line of credit on that, because to your point, Brian, I agree. You want to ring that 3.25% interest rate chamois for as long as you can. So then you tap into that equity. Let's imagine you're going to do a HELOC. You're going to maybe get. What percentage would they give you on a HELOC of that amount of equity. I mean, it might give you a couple $100,000 to be able to get into that. But then the question is that enough liquidity to piggyback that on with let's say a commercial loan? When you're talking about $850,000 to $900,000, probably not. So you're going to have to come up with some other resources. So I appreciate you coming up with the idea of, hey, is there an IRA, a 401k that you could potentially loan from? There's also the idea of a self-directed IRA. So he mentioned he's got a few 401ks. If they allow, meaning his old 401ks, he could roll into an IRA, and then he could do what's called a self-directed IRA, where he can actually own a portion of that, meaning his IRA can own a portion of that physical real estate. I don't know how much of a balance is in there, but let's imagine it's a couple $100,000. Then he could do that loan triage with that equity in his existing fourplex, use a self-directed IRA route. So it would be a certain percentage of ownership by Doug directly, and then another percentage of ownership in the IRA. And here's the reason why I think that makes sense, is because he doesn't necessarily need this for cash flow income right now to sustain his lifestyle. You nailed it, Brian. He's looking at this more of long-term growth bucket, not necessarily income bucket. So I think that makes a lot of sense for him to tap in. I mean, again, this is under the desired outcome of Doug wants to get another property like this because he's seeing good gains. It's great. So if that is the idea, then what resources do you have utilizing that pre-tax IRA money that is currently in a 401k through the self-directed IRA route could be the best path for him to take. But then I also agree that the rents need to increase, because if you could look at a scenario where it's cash flowing a little bit. Now you're tapping into some equity let's imagine it's a line of credit on that property. So interest rates is anywhere from probably 7 to 8% right now. So now you have that expense along with it, and you're going to take out another loan, most likely, to acquire this new fourplex. So then the question is, okay, is that cash flowing? Probably not. I mean, again, just looking at cap ratios, particularly in this area. So that's where you really want to look at the numbers. And, I do appreciate this idea of owning the tangible real estate. And obviously that first one has worked out really well, but putting all your eggs in this one basket to acquire this, I would just make sure that you're in. And I appreciate Doug. He's being very thoughtful of this, of I got this equity. Here's what I want to do. What's the best path to take? I think our takeaway is don't mess around with that VA loan that you have. Line of credit would likely be the most best scenario. And then in conjunction with that, utilizing that self-directed IRA route with that 401k dollars that you have.
And keep in mind that when we're talking about commercial investments, investment properties, things like that, the way that you're going to evaluate them is going to be your return on your equity, the return on the money you put into it. And so when we have interest rates that are generally moving lower, that means the prices will generally move higher. So wait it out, make a plan, contact us if you'd like, Doug. We'd certainly appreciate it. Go to therealmoneypros.com and find us there. You can call the program if you'd like at 979-59-MONEY. This program is live. Jeremiah Bates. I'm Brian Wiley, both fiduciary financial advisors. Learn more at therealmoneypros.com. When we come back, still want to talk a little bit deeper about the self-directed IRA and some pitfalls.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. And putting together the right team to run your HR-related tasks can be expensive, let alone time-consuming. Enter Ataraxis PEO, your professional employer organization ready to tackle all your HR needs, from payroll to benefits administration, payroll services, workers' compensation, and talent recruiting. They've got you covered. With Ataraxis, you gain access to a team of experts who handle the nitty-gritty of HR, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, growing your business and growing your revenue. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. So say goodbye to the stress of HR administration and hello to Ataraxis. Experience the power of a true business partner with Ataraxis PEO. Visit ataraxispeo.com. That's ATARAXISPEO.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all.
Have you ever met with a financial advisor looking for some advice just to leave being sold an annuity you didn't want? At Tree City Advisors of Apollon, we do things a bit differently. We focus on your financial goals, helping you fix past mistakes, simplify your current finances, and plan for the future with confidence. Your first consultation is always free and without obligation. Visit TreeCityAdvisors.com and start your journey to financial freedom now. That's TreeCityAdvisors.com.
As a financial advisor, I often see that many families I meet with end up paying way too much money in taxes. If a healthy family has an insurance plan with a low deductible but high annual premium, why wouldn't they look at a high deductible insurance plan instead? They could save on their premiums and put those saved dollars into a health savings account, also known as an HSA. It's the most powerful tax advantage account title available to us, so why not use it? Take advantage of pre-tax money that could be grown tax-free and then used tax-free for all of your qualified healthcare expenses. That's why you need Lively. Our favorite because it's simple, fast, and free. I use it, my colleagues use it, and I recommend it to all of my clients. Visit Lively right away. You can even roll over your existing HSA money into this new plan and start saving right away. I know you're going to love the entire experience. Visit livelyme.com/pro today. That's livelyme.com/PRO. Lively is a proud sponsor of the Real Money Pros.
We're back to the Real Money Pros.
Well, we are back. This is the Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. I have no idea what people have been hearing because I guess we got our clock goofy, a little bit goofy. Jeremiah Bates is here. I'm Brian Wiley. Phone lines are open. Again, 979-59-MONEY. So self-directed IRAs became pretty popular here about 20 years ago, and maybe 25 years ago. Fairly new as an interpretation that came out of how the Department of Labor was really looking at IRAs and 401ks and so on, the IRS, then allowing people to actually have some sort of tangible property inside their 401ks or IRAs specifically. But you have to do it as a self-directed IRA. Now, you have to find a custodian that will then do all the accounting, and then your IRA gets transferred over to their care, and then you direct what property you want to buy, and then they'll go through the title escrow and the purchase of it on your behalf, and they basically track everything. That's the whole purpose of these. Well, some people have gotten loans against them, and when you get loans against them, it's really interesting because the banks that loan against them have to understand that there is no recourse against a qualified plan like an IRA. So if that property fails, they can only sue up to the value of what is remaining as far as equity in the property. So it's not a lot of banks that will do them. So the loans themselves get very expensive. So part of the reason why I was talking about possibly looking at a 401k to loan himself some money is because he could expense it. That's because I know that he's not going to find a real easy way to lever up into a piece of property like that unless he does a combination of strategies, probably to involve maybe even a self-directed IRA. Be careful with it. You could really goof some stuff up, but you cannot have a personal beneficial interest to the property, meaning you can't live in it. You're not even supposed to stay in it. If you Airbnb it for the entire year, I believe that you're limited to no more than 2 weeks and you have to pay the market rate for it and so on, meaning you really have to treat it like it's a held away asset. It's also the same reason why people who have wanted to hold physical gold in an IRA find out very quickly that when they do, they have to hire somebody to then be in custody of that gold. They can't go stuff it underneath their own bed.
Yeah, no, the self-directed IRA, it's a great tool to have in the toolbox when you're talking about doing a combination of strategies, which, you know, covering Doug's topic, it is probably the most likely scenario, but it's great. It's great to have. It's great to have that in your back pocket. Brian, you and I have worked with many clients who they just got a knack for being really good at real estate. I mean, they're just in that industry. They have their ears to the ground and they find good deals. And we've done a combination of strategies where, let's tap into the significant amount of money that you've deferred into an IRA. Let's use a self-directed IRA where, to your point, they'll handle all the bookkeeping, all the management of it. And obviously there's pros and cons. One of the cons is there's more fees associated with this type of custodian that's offering you the ability to do this. Not a surprise there. But again, you got to be careful with this. It can't, meaning you can't buy or sell assets to yourself, close family members. You got to be very, you can't be the one going in there and turning the wrenches. It truly has to be for investment purposes. You don't want it to be at like arm's length where you're crossing that line. So you got to be careful with those. However, I think a lot of people are surprised when they see that, wait a minute, I can use my Roth IRA or my traditional IRA to own a rental property. I can do it to own physical gold. I can do it to own cryptocurrency or business interests. You absolutely can.
One of the biggest mistakes I'd seen, this one, I just remember this one. It was 15 years ago, roughly. So the property was at value, it was like $120,000 when it was purchased inside of a self-directed IRA. But that's all the money that was inside the self-directed IRA. There was no more money in there. So he starts generating rent. He's getting a very little or very small amount of cash flow. And then he got his first property tax bill and did not have enough cash with the IRA custodian as far as from rent payments and the profit amount to be able to pay the tax on it. So then he had to wait that out. Here's the problem. You cannot kick in your own personal cash to support the property unless it's within your IRA contribution limits to do so.
Yep.
So he got stung. What happened was he had some horrible renters that stopped paying rent, and then they got evicted, and it takes a while to actually get them to move out. And so in the meantime, they had decided to fill the pipes up, all the drain pipes, with concrete.
Oh, no.
Did I tell you about this whole thing?
Yeah.
And then they wrecked the carpet. They did all kinds of stuff to the interior of the house. And so when he got in there, it was a complete disaster. He called me and says, what do I do? Because it's going to be like $100,000 to fix this property. And he had no money in there. He says, I'm just going to use my personal cash, and I'm going to see if I can get away with this. I'm like, I don't know what else to tell you. That is probably not going to fly. You're going to have to probably sit in front of the IRS at some point and probably plead a case, see what happens. I don't know the outcome, but the bottom line is you've got to have cash in there to be able to support the operations of the property.
Yeah, because you cannot, exactly to your point, you can't say, oh, I got to cover all these expenses. I'll just go to my checking account or my savings account and tie into it that way. Then you're clearly, it's a prohibited transaction. Like, you're breaking the rules at that point. So again, it's a valid strategy, but you got to be very cognizant of the rules, because if you violate those rules and it's found out, it could be steep penalties. I mean, you could be dealing with a total mess.
Well, they may actually just distribute your IRA when you did the original rollover right into the self-directed IRA and just disallow everything.
Well, and then
so, what a mess.
Well, and then there's other potential pitfalls with owning, like, say, a highly appreciated piece of real estate inside of an IRA. When you look at the Secure Act and how IRAs that are inherited by a non-spouse, creating that liquidity to be able to cover the 10-year distribution rule, or if you were of RMD age, then your beneficiaries have to take RMDs. If that IRA is held up in a piece of real estate, they might be under some significant urgency that might not benefit the beneficiaries to sell that house, to turn it, to create some liquidity to cover these RMDs, to cover the distributions under that 10-year rule. So again, the estate planning side needs to be taken into the calculus as well. It was interesting because we had this was about maybe 2 years ago, where there was it was potential that self-directed IRAs, they were no longer going to be allowed to hold certain types of assets. So there was serious consideration we were talking about with clients where it's like, well, they had significant amount of real estate inside of a self-directed IRA. And we were concerned that, well, if this legislation passed that's being potentially proposed, they're going to have to unwind it, meaning they got to get that piece of property out of that IRA, meaning that's a distribution. Like, how would you even consider doing that? So again, that's been pushed to the wayside. Not a big issue there, but I mean, Peter Thiel, that came into light when he put I think it was $2,000 in a Roth IRA that represented his business interest in PayPal. I think it grew to like, billions of dollars. I think like $5 billion. So the dude has got turned 2,000 into $5 billion all inside of his Roth IRA. So when he pulls money out of there, tax free completely. So, it's interesting if there'll be more scrutiny on that. But again, this self-directed IRA, there's a number of custodians out there. Do your research, making sure you're working with a reputable custodian that can help guide you through these types of transactions. So again, you don't run into any mistakes, because those penalties could be steep.
We had another client actually that had a self-directed IRA where they were buying gold in it using a custodian in Texas that turned out to be a fraud.
Yep.
What did they lose in that? About 140 or so?
Yeah,
140,000. It's horrible, and it was a good portion of their retirement plan. Their investment assets. Those were important to them. They invested in it. They had actually heard about it as an advertising. I believe that it was on a radio, but then he looked at it and it looked like it was legit. It turned out this guy was taking the money and spending it, not buying the gold. too bad. But they lost the money. There's no recourse. There's not a whole lot you can do. They can sue. They can get pieces of it. They were finding gold coins in this guy's couch.
His couch cushions.
It's crazy. Yeah, we watched that case for a little bit, and we were waiting to find out what our clients were going to be able to do or get from it. It turned out very little. They get anything back?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe like 5% of their initial investment. So like a couple of $1,000, not much at all.
In the next,
I was just going to say the hard part of that too is, I mean, theoretically, if this was owned in a non-qualified account, at least you could write off the loss. I mean, it's a capital loss that you could use to offset gains and offset income. But the fact that it was all inside of an IRA, there's no tax benefits that you could hold on to there. It's just a loss.
Yep, and you're deferring out all that to later income as well. So we're going to be back in the next hour. We want to talk, actually, let's talk about fraud and what's happening in this world right now. Have you experienced some sort of fraud, a scam? Have you been catfished? Is that what it is? Catfished? I don't know all the terms for it. I'm hearing all new terms. There's always new inventions on how they're trying to take money, especially from our seniors. Share your experiences. Do that in the next hour with us as it's continuing to be a live program, and any financial question is fair game. Phone lines are open at 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. Find us online. Go to therealmoneypros.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Please see who our sponsors are. We have vetted them all out. We know that they're great. Guild Mortgage being one of them, Apollon Wealth Management, Formations. We've got many different companies that we believe in that take care of our clients that we know would take great care of you as well. This is The Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. Jeremiah Bates. I'm Brian Wiley. We're going to take a break. Be right back.
The Real Money Pros is hosted by Brian Wiley and other team members of Tree City Advisors of Apollon. Tree City Advisors of Apollon is a DBA of Apollon Wealth Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor and affiliate of the Real Money Pros. The Real Money Pros and Tree City of Apollon are not affiliated with any of the companies or non-advisor professionals participating on this program. Ataraxis PEO and Apollon Wealth Management are financial sponsors of the Real Money Pros. Additionally, Apollon receives advisory fees for these sponsors and or their representatives for investment advice. Log into therealmoneypros.com to contact the host for advice, show archives, educational material, and more. This program is brought to you by the quality sponsors heard within this broadcast.
Businesses today face a barrage of challenges. They hunt for top talent, the search for the right benefits package, and the ever-rising tide of healthcare rates. Ataraxis takes the time to learn about your business, crafting personalized solutions to help you and your team succeed. Ataraxis partners with businesses of all sizes and industries. Their mission? To reduce the stress and risk that comes with business owners trying to do it themselves. Visit ataraxispeo.com. Ataraxis, elevating businesses for the benefit of all.
Your emotions can drive many decisions, but when it comes to money, they shouldn't be in the driver's seat. I'm Alex at Tree City Advisors of Apollon. We get to know you and your goals to build a holistic, time-based investment strategy. Investing isn't rocket science, but having the right partner helps you stay the course. Learn more about us at treecityadvisors.com or call us at 208-888-1244.
Advisory services offered through Apollon Wealth Management, LLC, DBA Tree City Advisors of Apollon, an investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Are you a do-it-yourself investor looking for ideas from a pro, but not necessarily interested in hiring a pro? Well, I have something to share with you. I build investment allocations for my clients on a daily basis, but sometimes people simply ask if I will share my ideas with them. My answer? Sure. The way I see it, I'm lucky these people consider me to be an expert. So I started writing a quarterly newsletter with model portfolios built for different purposes. My readers get to decide if they want to follow any or some of my ideas. Now, powered by freedomfolios.com and the use of their TD Ameritrade account, my followers can get their investment portfolio in line with my suggestions with the simple push of a button. Using the freedomfolios.com technology is simple and it's fast. I update my models once a quarter, and freedomfolios.com then sends my subscribers a message via email or text letting them know that they may want to update their investment accounts. It's the least expensive way to get professional models without the cost of a pro. Visit freedomfolios.com. See my models there. You can start your free 30-day trial right now. It's freedomfolios.com.
know you've been waiting a little bit longer than normal.
Jen's manicure spot needs an extra pair of hands.
Who's at the front desk right now?
Someone who's handy with everything from nail files to spreadsheet files.
Deidre's not coming in today, but we have that whole bachelorette party.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
To offer valuable advice and earn clients' trust as an advisor, it's essential to always put their interests ahead of personal gain or the preferences of any particular company. Advisor Insurance Solutions is dedicated to delivering insurance solutions from an advisory perspective. They provide objective and unbiased insurance planning, making it an integral part of their comprehensive advisory process. If you're looking for insurance guidance that aligns with your financial goals, visit therealmoneypros.com. That's therealmoneypros.com.
Are you in the market to buy a house or just looking to refinance your current mortgage? For helping individuals and families achieve affordable homeownership, Academy Mortgage is a first choice. And when finding that perfect loan for the perfect home, you need a company that will treat you like family, not just another file. To help you navigate through today's ever-changing housing market, Academy Mortgage has zero down options available to you. That includes zero down with no mortgage insurance. We also offer medical professional loans and 2-1 rate buy-downs that help lower your monthly payment for the first several years of your loan. Origination, processing, underwriting, and closing and funding will all happen in-house. With over 34 years in the business, we know that buying a home is more than just a house. That's why it's important we protect our customers and safeguard their financial wellness for years to come. Visit us online at academymortgage.com today to start your journey to homeownership with Academy Mortgage. That's academymortgage.com. Academy Mortgage, your first choice home loan lender.
Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, is an equal housing lender.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. I'm a speed bump. Did you hear what I said? I'm a speed bump. And if you have cut-rate car insurance, the cost to reattach your muffler could really be a bump in the road. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Running out of gift ideas for your loved one? Send flowers with Flower Fix. And need to create joy in your living or workspace? With many working from home these days, create joy in your space with flowers. Flower Fix is a subscription-based flower delivery service perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, or any special occasion. We offer 2 subscription options to choose from, a text-based subscription or a traditional one. Enjoy these big, beautiful hand-designed bouquets that are delivered straight from our flower fields to your door. Log on now, www.flowerfix.com, to choose your flowers today. Have control over when you want flowers delivered. Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Get your flower fix at flowerfix.com. Use code FlowerFixPro to receive 20% off your first order. flowerfix.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gallegos with Price for Life. Do you have a life insurance policy that you'd like to sell? If you don't need the coverage anymore or would rather not keep making the premium payments, visit our website, priceforlife.com. Don't let your policy lapse when you can potentially get a cash payment for it. There are several reasons why a life settlement might be a great value to you. Perhaps your policy is too expensive, or you feel you no longer need the death benefit, or you may think you need to wait until death before your family can get the money from the insurance company. This is why you may want to consider a life settlement. Price for Life has excellent resources available along with a free evaluation process to help you understand the value of your policy and the options available to you. Price for Life's clients have received hundreds of thousands of dollars for their policy when they would have otherwise just let it lapse by stopping the premium payments. Get the compensation you deserve. Visit priceforlife.com today and fill out the case evaluation qualifies. That's price, the number.
Real Money Pros is brought to you by The Real Money Pros and the sponsors heard within this program may not be suitable for you. Consult a registered investment advisor when evaluating any particular investment, security, or investment strategy. The views, opinions, or advice offered by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect those of this station. Brian Wiley and Jeremiah Bates are investment advisor representatives with Apollon Wealth Management, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Like that?
The Real Money Pros with Brian Wiley and Jeremiah Bates. The weekend's smartest money show. Investing, taxes, legal topics, insurance, and every other confusing money topic made simple.
Well, happy Saturday to you. This is the second hour of The Real Money Pros, therealmoneypros.com. That's how you find us. You can call us live here on the program at 979-59-MONEY. That's 979-596-6639. Just for fun this last week, Jeremiah, I did pull out a camera. I was thinking, I bet some people would like to see all the failures and the crazy stuff that happens inside my garage when I'm sitting there making all these cabinets, because some stuff does go wrong every once in a while, and it can go, well, hopefully nothing gory or anything like that, but a lot of things to go flying around. So I filmed it just for a brief amount of time. But I was thinking about it even more so, which is I sometimes go mind numb watching like YouTube and processes of something, and it's great for putting my brain to sleep. But I was thinking sometimes I will watch them and they have a really cool story while something's being manufactured or something. I thought I'm going to do investment classes, like just discussions like here's how the buckets work while I'm making a cutting board or something like that. Kind of put your mind to sleep but give you something to listen to. Would you be interested in something like that? Send us a message. Go to therealmoneypros.com. Anytime you like to call the program, please do. You can also message us live using the chat feature on our front page of our website at therealmoneypros.com. We ended the last hour. I'd made a comment about fraud and the scams that are out there. Now, they've been out there for forever, and seniors tend to be the first victims of fraud and scams, and they're getting very complicated now. Have you had an experience that you'd like to share with others about a fraud or a scam, maybe the components of it, what we could look out for? Share those with us here on the program if you're willing to say it. Change your name, that's great, but let's have a conversation and inform others. 979-59-MONEY is the phone line. How many times a day are you getting a text message or a call now at this point that are from numbers you don't know?
Oh, all the time. I mean, it's every day, multiple times a day. I am to the point now where if I don't recognize it, I always get. I can't tell you how many times I get like the DMV text messages, and they look legitimate. By the way, of like, oh man, I must have missed something. There was a toll road that I was on at some point in time, and they caught me, and now I got to pay up. So it's. Those are scams. I mean, meaning like the IRS, they're not going to send you a text message. The DMV is not going to send you a text message. You got to be cognizant of emails coming through. If I get a phone call, if I don't recognize the number, I am not answering it. And I think that's the protocol that most people are taking. Where my concern is, it's the older generation, the people that, they pick up the phone every time it rings. They think something's wrong. They think there's a bug in their computer, and they have to give out this and they have to do that. That's where my biggest concern is. I think they're the most vulnerable to this type of financial exploitation or scams. But as technology keeps getting better and better and better, these scams are getting more creative. They're better. I just saw one that was posted by my bank that it's not uncommon for your local branch representatives to reach out. They try to want to earn your business. They want to be the friendly neighborhood bankers so that they can be the face-to-face person. And you're getting a lot of scams where they're calling and saying, "Hey, I'm working at your local branch." They aren't. These scams are rampant. The statistics of financial loss, I mean, it's in the billions every year, and it's not going to slow down. So it's to a point now where you got to be very careful about. And these are just scams. I'm not talking about someone just hacking your account and then moving money. A lot of times that's a little bit easier to recoup because most banks, they offer what's called zero liability fraud protection. So if you're subject to fraud or someone like steals your debit card, they'll reimburse you for that. But
when you're complicit to it,
that's where you run into an issue, especially these scams. Where, prime example, I unfortunately had an elderly client where they ran victim to was like a sweepstakes scam, where it's like, hey, you won this giant sweepstakes. But to do that, we have to verify some things, and it led to thousands of dollars transferred, thousands of dollars put on these prepaid debit cards. Which, I mean, at that point, if you go the prepaid debit card route where you're loading money onto that and then you give them that number, I mean, recovering those funds is basically going to be non-existent at that point. So that was sad. And she was elderly. She was in her 80s and just a trusting person, excited about it, and then just fell victim to it. It's just a sad thing. You hate to see it, but they're there. They're not going anywhere. And I tell you, if you have an aging parent, this is something that you have to pay attention to. I would highly recommend having some level of visibility on their finances, not to take over control, but just another level of oversight. Because in our small office, I mean, we work with a lot of clients, but in the grand scheme of things, when you talk about the population of the United States, it's pretty small, and we've seen not a lot, but we've seen it, and we've seen it really pick up over the last couple of years. So if we're seeing it like just in this little office over here, I guarantee that it's happening worldwide. So it's something you got to pay attention to.
I had an elderly client probably about 10 years ago. She came in, and she actually came in because we were working with her bank, and her bank called and said that somebody had gained access to her accounts and was able to get usernames and passwords to savings. And, hey, Brian, would you meet with her? Because, by the way, she's got some money sitting inside of her savings, and we thought it would just be good to look through it all. So I did. And they had locked down her accounts and everything, but turned out she had actually became subject of it because she was working on her computer, and then basically to let everything go. So like ransom was for her to buy iTunes gift cards.
Yep.
Apple iTunes gift cards as payment. Why? Well, because those aren't traceable. That's the reason why. So you think about cryptocurrency now. So it's just like that is the perfect thing for the scammers to get because it's not trackable. That's the attractiveness of the crypto currencies, is that they can't be traced or found, and they can move money around again without being traced or found. And so the cryptocurrency was the perfect replacement. It's almost they were praying for it because the iTunes, you can only buy so many cool songs, movies. But they were trading the iTunes cards. Turns out a lot of them are over in Afghanistan or in India, Pakistan. These are people that are in some cases actually even slaves to criminal groups that are in Myanmar, I guess, that are calling us, trying to connect with us. Now, our seniors are so easily preyed upon right now because they're already trying to limit use on, let's say, computers or online shopping and things like that. So when they do it, are they doing it in a safe way? Now, my client had come in and she was embarrassed. I said, you need to get your daughter involved. I said, because she told me about her family, and I said, your daughter cares about you. I said, couldn't you just have her help you now, and maybe she can come in for our meetings? So she had left. That was the first meeting. The second meeting, she comes back, and I got to meet her daughter. And she was really embarrassed about telling her the story. And I said, this is the problem. I said, is that a lot of times these will persist where you did the one where you knew it was probably a scam. Then they tease you and tell you can get it back, but you got to pay them more. So you pay them more. Then you get to the point where you're so embarrassed, you don't tell anybody about it, and you're entrenched. People have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own net worth into these scams, thinking that the person on the other line was actually caring, and all these little things that happen were just happenstance, and they just keep paying into it.
Yeah, I'm looking up this statistic. So it says elderly people lost approximately $4.9 billion to financial scams in 2024. That saw a 43% increase in losses in 2024 compared to 2023. So you had a 43% increase. You're talking about almost $5 billion. That's an incredible amount of money. So there's a huge incentive